The rain hadn't stopped for 2 days. Pippi stood by the cafe window, tracing the trails of water on the glass with her finger, lost in thought. Behind her, people laughed, the espresso machine hissed, and life carried on, indifferent to her heartbreak. Her phone buzzed. Xiaoju, dinner tonight? I'm starving and you need real food, not sadness and caffeine. Pippi managed a weak smile and typed back, sure. She didn't mention that she had just seen Jalan's profile update, a photo of him holding hands with another girl. The caption read, "Love always finds its way." Pippi's stomach turned. She wasn't jealous. No, not exactly. It was more the sharp confirmation of what she already knew, that they were over, that she had always loved him more, and that somewhere along the way, she had become forgettable. At the restaurant, Xiaoju ordered enough food for 5 people. You're going to eat until you smile again, she declared. Mid-bite, a familiar voice called out. Pippi? She looked up. Jalan. He wasn't alone. The girl beside him wore her insecurity like armor, clutching his arm, glaring at Pippi like she was the enemy. Pippi nodded politely, her heart sinking, but her face didn't flinch. After awkward pleasantries, they walked away. Did you just see that? Xiaoju hissed. She looked like she was about to claw your face off. Pippi stirred her soup. Let her. He's hers now. That night, under soft yellow streetlights, Pippi walked home alone, heels tapping gently against wet pavement. At the corner of Magnolia Street, she heard shouting. A man in a sleek suit was arguing with someone on the phone, drenched in rain. She stopped. Something about him seemed misplaced. Not the wealth. Not the sharp jawline or the Rolex. It was his eyes. They looked lost. Seconds later, he hung up, cursed, and kicked a trash can. It toppled. So did he, slipping on wet concrete. Without thinking, Pippi ran to help. Are you okay? He blinked up at her. Do I look okay? She offered her hand. He took it. The man didn't smile. But he didn't let go of her hand either. Thank you, he muttered. She nodded and walked away. What she didn't know was that this moment, this silly, rainy, inconvenient collision, was the beginning of a story far greater than heartbreak. A billionaire CEO had just met the woman who would change everything. And this time, she wouldn't be the one left behind. The next morning, Pippi found a message request on her phone from an unknown account. Unknown, thank you for helping me last night. Would you accept a coffee as repayment? She blinked at the message. No name. Just a blank profile with one post, a blurry sunset over a skyline. It could have been anyone. But something told her it was him. Curious, she replied, only if you're less grumpy this time. The response came instantly, no promises. They met at a quiet corner cafe near her workplace. He wore a black coat and dark sunglasses. Still no smile. But he pulled the chair out for her. Name Shin. Pippi, she answered. I know. She raised an eyebrow. I asked the cafe owner where you worked. Her instinct told her to be alarmed. But his tone was calm. Soft even. It was the way he said it, like he was trying to justify needing to see her again. It wasn't flirtation. It was curiosity, pure, raw, vulnerable. The coffee was awkward at first. He barely spoke. She filled the silence with stories about Xiaoju's cooking disasters and her childhood dream of owning a bookstore. When she finally paused, Shin said, You're different from anyone I've met. Pippi laughed nervously. That's either a compliment or a red flag. It's a compliment, he said. Most people want something. You didn't. She shrugged. You looked like you needed help. That's all. Silence again. Then, he said, you helped me before I even asked. That matters. They parted without a hug or a promise to meet again. But 2 days later, he showed up at her workplace, with coffee. Again. And again. Soon, it became routine. Mornings started with Shen. Evenings sometimes ended with texts from him asking how her day went. Then came the job offer. I need a project manager for a short-term campaign. You'd be perfect. I've seen your resume. Xiaoju sent it. Pippi stared at him. You've been talking to Xiaoju? She's relentless. Pippi shook her head. This is too much. It's just a job. A temporary one. But it wasn't just a job. It was the start of something neither of them dared name. But hope had a fragile heartbeat. The very next week, everything changed. A new executive joined the company, Lena, tall, stunning, and confident. She walked like she owned the building and greeted Shen with a familiarity that made Pippi's stomach twist. Lena's eyes narrowed slightly when she met Pippi. So you're the assistant, she said. I'm the project manager, Pippi corrected softly. Lena's smile didn't reach her eyes. Of course you are. That night, Pippi sat in her apartment, staring at her untouched dinner. Her phone buzzed. Shen, meeting tomorrow moved to 10. Don't forget. No emojis. No warmth. No mention of lunch, tea, or umbrellas. The shift was subtle. Fewer texts. Fewer glances. More time spent with Lena behind closed doors. Xiaoju wasn't subtle. He's pulling away. I know. What are you going to do? Pippi didn't know. But she decided to stay late the next night, to find her own answer. Around 9 p.m., she walked past the executive wing. Shen's office light was still on. She knocked gently and stepped inside. He looked up, surprised. Pippi? She nodded. I just came to say goodnight. His face softened. Wait. She paused. He walked over and handed her a wrapped box. What's this? Just something I thought you'd like. She opened it carefully. Inside was a first edition of her favorite childhood novel, the one she told him about over tea weeks ago. Her throat tightened. You remembered. I remember everything about you, he said quietly. Silence stretched between them, taut and trembling. Then why have you been distant? She whispered. He hesitated. Because Lena is my ex-fiancée. And my board thinks getting back with her is strategic. Pippi swallowed hard. So you let them decide who you love? Shen stepped closer. I didn't think I deserved to choose until you. She looked at him, eyes filled with ache. I'm not a strategy. You're the only real thing in this entire world of masks. That night, he didn't kiss her. He didn't have to. The truth was louder than any gesture. But the storm wasn't over. And the cost of truth was still waiting. The following week felt like walking through glass. Rumors started swirling. Whispers in corridors. Glances that lingered too long. Someone had seen Pippi coming out of Shen's office late at night. Lena had made sure the story traveled. Then came the email. Pippi was being reassigned. No explanation. No goodbye from Shen. She packed her things in silence. That night, it rained again. Hard. She didn't go home. She went to the bookstore, the little used one at the corner where they sold poetry by the ounce and paperbacks by the pound. It smelled like ink and old dreams. She sat in the back, curled into a chair, her eyes burning. And then Shen was there. Soaked. Breathless. Wild-eyed. I didn't approve your reassignment, he said. She stared at him. Then who did? The board. Lena. Because of me? Because of us. She stood. So that's it? They pull the strings, and you dance? No, he said. Not anymore. He walked forward, placed a small velvet box on the table. I resigned this morning. Pippi blinked. You what? I built a company and filled it with people who didn't believe in the kind of man I wanted to be. So I'm starting again. With you, if you'll let me. She looked down at the box. It wasn't a ring. It was a key. To what? She whispered. My new beginning. A tear fell from her cheek, but she smiled. Only if there's tea in the morning. There will always be tea, he said, stepping closer. And noodles. And umbrellas. And then, for the first time, he kissed her. Soft. Certain. Like he'd been waiting his whole life to mean it. Outside, the rain didn't stop. But inside that tiny bookstore, hope found its heartbeat again. A year later, the rain came again. But this time, it danced instead of wept. Pippi stood behind the counter of a small book cafe tucked between two quiet streets, her bookstore. It smelled like cardamom and old pages, with jazz humming from a radio in the corner. The walls were lined with first editions and handwritten notes. There were plants in the windows, soft yellow lights, and a wooden sign above the counter that read, "Softness is strength." She'd written it herself. Behind her, Shin was trying, and failing, to fix a crooked picture frame. Left, she said. He moved it. More left. He sighed. You're enjoying this, aren't you? She grinned. A little. Business wasn't booming, but it was enough. They hosted poetry nights, storytelling afternoons, and sold more coffee than books some days, but they were happy. Really, truly happy. Xiaoju stopped by every Thursday with gossip and pie. Customers came and went, many becoming friends. The bookstore had become a heartbeat of the neighborhood, slow, steady, and warm. That evening, Shin brought out a guitar, badly tuned, and strummed a clumsy melody. Pippi laughed until she cried. I told you not to sing, she said. You said I couldn't sing. I'm proving you right. They sat outside under string lights, tea in hand. Do you regret it? She asked softly. Leaving the company? He looked at her like she was the only answer that ever mattered. Not for a second. She leaned into him. I still don't know how this happened. You gave me tea, he said. And didn't ask for anything in return. Silence. Then she said, we should write a book. About us. Shin smiled. Only if it starts with the rain. She nodded. It always starts with the rain. And somewhere, just beyond the glass, the clouds parted. And the story of a girl once abandoned, and a man once lost, became not a fairy tale. But something far rarer. Real. Earned. And beautifully, irrevocably theirs.